This is your host, Sophie, from Awakenings with Sophie, where we take a modern spin on healing old wounds. Every week, we have a guest on our show tell us what's going on in their life that they're struggling with, and then I give them coaching guidance on how they can work through this and heal it, in hopes that it may inspire somebody else out there to do the healing work and get the freedom that their soul is longing for. But before we get started, let's hear the magic medicine quote of the week. And this week, our quote is from Michael Beckwith. There is this song being sung in your secret soul that cannot be silenced. It sings its existential, unceasing melody within you. Then the day comes when you're in your work, you hear and feel the vibration of this cosmic rhythm. Suddenly, you unify with it in a realization of oneness, of higher consciousness. I mean, there's no words after listening to Michael and reading him. I just absolutely love him. I do this deep healing work with my clients, and we go through a 4-phase process: recognize, release, reprogram, and radiate. We need to recognize and identify the real issue before we can actually release the energy. But once we release it, we then reprogram this space. We can radiate the truth of our being. And now let's dive into our metaphorical healing hut as we welcome our guest. Morgan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So let's dive in. What do you want to work on today?
So I've been having these dreams pretty consecutively for a few months now, where in my dream, it's always like a little bit different, but I'm always like trying to get somewhere, trying to like make a plane ride or a train or something. And Reed, my husband, in my dream also was kind of just like, see ya, like just like walking out the door, like leaving me and not really having like any care in the world to look back, or, you know, I like might be like crying in my dream, like wanting him to fight for me. And I just feel like he's just like, see ya, like out the door. And I keep having these like, it's very like a frustrating dream.
Okay. So there's a lot of different approaches when it comes to dreams that we can look at. And I would say, so the first thing I always like to start with is, what emotion was I feeling in the dream?
I think fear and sadness, a lot of sadness.
Okay. So your subconscious, I believe, is showing you these two frequencies in you.
Yeah.
Sadness and you said fear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what I would do is, when I woke up, I would definitely look into that. Like, this frequency of sadness, where is this being unlocked from?
My parents' relationship comes to mind, and I think there's sadness and fear in the way I saw a lot of things in their relationship unfold. So I feel like maybe that has come into my marriage, and I have still sadness over a lot of that and fear that that will happen.
So you're basically taking an experience that you experienced in your childhood, in your adolescence, mm-hmm. and saying, I don't want to repeat this, mm-hmm. but I'm afraid I am. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is bring more consciousness into that. Bring more conscious into that subconscious fear that is afraid of being a repeater. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you've ever heard me say, I believe there's like these two paths that we can take in this type of situation. Mm-hmm. And that's either being a repeater or a reflector. Mm. And so hearing that concept, what do you think the difference is?
A reflector is being able to acknowledge what's like occurred in your past and making like a conscious decision to not repeat that.
And what is being a repeater?
I think allowing it to dictate what your future will look like, and not making those changes and allowing it to affect you and control your emotions and actions.
Yeah. Being a repeater and being a reflector have one thing that makes them different, and that is consciousness. And consciousness leads to awareness, and awareness leads to choice. So rather than just getting stuck in that, I don't want to be a repeater, and then kind of creating like this internal turmoil mantra, we can say, okay, so what's the consciousness around this? What is the consciousness of what I don't want to become? What don't I want to become?
A failure in my marriage.
Okay, so get a little bit more descriptive, because that's pretty general. How could you fail in your marriage?
I just have a fear of losing our love.
Well, and I think that's valid, because I don't think it's something you find, so it's not something you lose. And if we can shift the consciousness around that, it's something that it gets ignited within you, and there's chemical, and there is energetic, and there is effort, right? Yeah. So one of the things that I have found, I don't know if this will be helpful for you, but me and my husband have been together about 13 years and married for 5. And just the other week, I noticed that I was feeling like kind of cold to him, and almost like my heart was closing. And it was so obvious to me that that was not what I wanted. And I didn't really have any external logical thing to put that on, but I felt it. And he like came up to hug me, and I could just feel my heart was not open. And I had this like massive awareness that this is what happens, and people don't catch it. Just through life and through all the tasks and responsibilities and everything, your heart can start to close. Yeah. And it may not even be about your spouse, but your spouse gets the worst of it. So for me, it was like in that moment, Spirit was saying, your heart needs some work, and I'm showing you through your husband. And so I went then and started to look at the 4th chakra and played my F note chakra bowl. And I'm trying to reopen that back up and see that as something in me that was starting to shut down, not something in him. He was just close enough in the kitchen in that moment to be a reflection to show that back to me.
I think that's definitely what it is like I have a fear in myself, and so my walls come up, and then it's like you feel that disconnect with your partner, and you're so right. It really is a reflection of like me feeling like I'm not enough or I won't be enough, and insecurities when it's really has nothing to do with him, and it has to do with me knowing that I'm whole in myself. But I know that I need to do a lot of work around that self-love, because I think that's definitely where it's coming from, and showing in my dreams where he's just like, see ya, like basically I feel like that's a reflection of me thinking I'm disposable.
You know, the other angle of looking at dreams, when there's like a million, this is just a second one, but another angle is to see every character as yourself. So you look at Reed as a part of you that says, see ya. And you look at all those different facets of the dream as parts of you. So if we look at it that way, you can then say, well, what part of me is walking away?
I think that there's a part of me that's not fully committed, and that's why I'm feeling this way.
Not fully committed to yourself. Yeah. There could be a part of your spirit that's not fully embodied in your body. There could be a part of you that is a little bit more attached to self-rejection than self-acceptance. There could be, it could be a million different things, but that's why it's like your inner playground. You have to go within and figure out what part of that is that you aren't committed to, that is dying, calling you in and saying, just accept me, love me, make me part. Can I be part of the team too? Let me in, coach.
Yeah. No, it's true. I think I've felt a lot of rejection, in my life. So that's hurt my spirit and made me feel like I am like rejectable.
And the cure for that is self-love.
So how do I try to repair that scar of feeling like unworthy and not enough?
So I think the answer to that space is inner child work. Because if your inner child is feeling abandoned, rejected, not good enough, they're involved now in your adult interactions and they're freaking exhausted. And there needs to be a separation where you go within and you say, I got you. I am so sorry you were hurt, but that ends today. Because now I will make sure you are never hurt again. So you go over here into your room that we create for you and let me handle all the adult stuff here on out. And like take her little hands and look in her little eyes and just say, you will never be hurt again.
Yeah, it feels really powerful because I feel her definitely hurting.
Yeah. And she'll heal quickly. I find that, you probably heard me say the inner child can heal rather quickly, depending on your circumstance. But it's that damn teenager in there that really can put up a fight.
Yeah, she's pretty hurt too.
Yeah. But let's one at a time.
Okay.
And I think if you can just connect with her and find her on your inner domain, she's not in your mind, she's in your heart. Yeah. And so you go within into that meditative space and you find her and you just give her the medicine that she is longing for.
Yeah.
And that's 1, to be let off the hook. 2, to be given the dream room of her dreams. And 3, to tell her that it won't happen again.
So for like healing your inner child, I don't necessarily need to go back to like each like moment that I was like, okay, I felt rejected here, just kind of overall like embracing her and letting her know like she is loved and that'll never happen again. And is that the best way to do it?
Yes, I don't necessarily think you need to relive your trauma to heal it. And by trauma, I mean an experience that you could judge as mild to severe, right? Anyone could. But the central nervous system doesn't care about mild or severe. The central nervous system says, something happened and I went into fight or flight. And ever since then, I haven't been able to turn it off. So could somebody please shut me off? Because I keep trying to shut it off when we're at the grocery store. I get that email and it's not working.
Yeah.
So any type of exercise that you can do, there's so many things, like in our coaching program, we have the Transmute Your Trauma track, which is a 15-minute meditation and reprogramming. On my website, we have a whole bunch of Ho'oponopono tools that can help you just go into that space and practice those 4 phrases. I love you, God. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you for allowing me to come home. And just cleaning up with forgiveness and forgiving her. That's where it can start, as you, the queen, can go and forgive her for whatever she's holding on to and let her go in that space. And then maybe simultaneously, because this is the way it works in the inner dimension, she looks at you and forgives you. And you guys have this cosmic repairing. Anything's possible in that realm.
I love that. That's definitely helpful. Because sometimes it can feel overwhelming, I think, to go back and try and heal all of that. But looking at it in that light feels like I can reconnect with her and let her know she's safe and she's okay.
Yeah. And it's remarkable what starts to happen when she feels safe. And then you can still work through your wounds, because you might have adult wounds that you really don't need her to participate in. It's like, think about it in a house. You know, if you had this little kid, it's like, put them in their room, give them something to do, and now go on into your journal and start doing your work. She doesn't have to sit there all bored while you're doing your work.
Right. That's true.
And I have found that separation to be very, very, very healing to my own journey and my own soul. And I think that it's just powerful, powerful work.
And so do you think that this is more of a reflection of my self-love, like lack of self-love showing up in my dreams and not really having anything to do with my marriage?
Probably. I think there's probably some fears. Like, you see how in this session alone, we start with the dream.
Right.
And then we look at like the logical. Oh, I'm afraid Reed's leaving me. I'm afraid that he's going to do that. So we look at like the logical, external space first. And then it's like the psyche is like, okay, come a little bit deeper. And then we can go more into that internal realm. And then there's more underneath that. You know, it's just kind of like, how far do you want to go? And there's tools that you can use in terms of dream work that are so powerful and profound. Like, one of my favorite techniques comes from a 16 question worksheet that Gatlin, I think it's Gatlin. One of the questions is, after you've gone through like 7 of the questions and really described it and looked at emotions and looked at characters and representations and associations, the worksheet asks, if the dream could continue, what would happen? And so just allowing that to kind of play out can be a healing tool within itself. So if your dream could continue, the one you described, what would happen?
Reed comes after me.
Yep. Think about it.
Yeah.
He turns around, he looks at you, and he says, you are the only one I want. I am here. And he swoops you up and hugs you and embraces you. That is the medicine your soul is seeking from you, not from him. However, if we have to do some interesting illustration in our mind to get there, so be it.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to the self-love.
Yeah. You're right, because it has nothing to do with him. And I think I need to remember I can't look for him to make myself feel whole.
Yeah. You guys are partners and mirrors that will show you your wounds and your strengths and your weaknesses. And if you can always just look back into the internal space and have that commitment that I need to grow as an individual in this relationship.
Yeah.
And I need to maintain an open heart and kindness and respect. You will have great pillars that you're building this relationship on.
Right. And is that something that I should walk through with him as well?
Absolutely. I mean, intimacy, right? Into me, I allow you to see. Like, when I felt that heart closing situation with Rich, I told him about it the next evening. You know, I said, I don't know why I felt like this, but I want to let you see into me, even when I'm in my ugliest.
Yeah.
My heart's closing towards you. Ew, gross. But this is what's happening, and I'm going to work hard to change that.
So how were you able in that situation to like see that and not like deflect that onto Rich, being like you putting it onto him as he's the reason your heart was closing?
Because I don't think that the external environment has as much power as the internal environment. And I see things that happen around me as a reflection of me. It's just a belief system that I've worked on developing. So I don't blame. Typically, I don't allow that frequency in my processing, or it's something that I'm working on really removing. and taking full responsibility. So if I take full responsibility for my feelings and who I am and what I feel and what happens around me, I can always grow. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect or trying to be. That's not the goal at all. The goal is to be aware.
Yeah. I think that's a really helpful mindset, because I think that's a lot of fear too, of thinking, at least for me, that there will be a time where it's like I'm too much, or he can't connect with me, and realizing that I'm responsible for that realm and I'm responsible for my emotions, and not putting that onto him or thinking he can fix that.
Yeah. And that I'm too much, right, comes from where?
My childhood. Being told I'm difficult, I don't know how to handle you, selfish, just certain things that I think I've like held on to and now believe, or trying not to believe.
So that again is inner child, right? So you can just go to that inner child and say, guess what? You are not too much. You are beautiful and passionate and expressive, and I love you and I want more of it. I want you to feel safe in the expression of self. You're safe with me now.
Full body chills, because that's what she needs to hear.
Yeah. Good. So that's your work. Now it's time for the crystallization. This is the space I hold so that the crystal kingdom can send us a message. The crystal of this episode is Morganite. So Morganite is actually these beads, and it comes in it's like light blue and peach and light pink. And then this is rose quartz on the end, guys. So I can try to get close so you guys can see it, but let me read to you what Morganite is about. Morganite is the stone of divine love. This stone opens the heart on another level, making you aware of the huge ocean of love on a cosmic level. It can bring an immediate release of old wounds to be healed, becoming aware of them one last time before they're fully released. It is the perfect stone for you if you want to do some serious inner work and emotional self-healing, as it cleanses the heart alongside this journey, making space for alignment with your divine plan. Wearing this stone brings peace, joy, growing confidence, and power. In relationships, Morganite helps you release old relational attachments that have ended badly or have unresolved energy, and bring awareness to emotional wounds you need to heal to move forward.
Well, that couldn't be more perfect for me.
Yeah.
Give me some Morganite.
Yeah. And it's interesting, because I was probably wearing my Morganite mala when I had that awareness with Rich.
Wow.
And that's part of the power of working with the Crystal Kingdom, is they will help you become aware of things within your field that maybe you hadn't been aware of before. They wake the energy up, and then you get to play with it and do what you want with it. And now let's drop in for our Awaken question of the week. What is the difference between a therapist, a psychologist, and a life coach? Now, I think this is a really great question, because as the industry of life coaching continues to grow, it's good to know. And so I like to break it down like this. Therapy answers the question, why am I where I am? When life coaching answers the question, where do you want to go? So they're both very, very important healing modalities. And I like to actually blend the two. So I do healing work in order to create space for new strategy to come in and us actually execute and create lasting results. So I do healing work. I don't do therapy. And then I do coaching strategy work to help create growth and movement towards where you're trying to go. Now, a psychologist basically has a PhD in specializing in psychology, and they may range with a specialty from sports psychology all the way to somatic experiencing. A psychologist has a PhD, while a psychiatrist actually has gone through medical school and then specialized at the end of their education with a psych degree path, I think. So basically they are the ones that can prescribe you medications to help balance you out chemically if that is the path you are seeking. So great question. I hope that creates some clarity on the different ways that you can get psychological help to help you free your wounds and step into your most true self. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Awaken with Sophie and DM me any of your spiritual questions for the chance for them to be answered on our next episode. Use hashtag AwakenFam so we can see how you are awakening. Until next time, keep turning those obstacles into opportunities, my loves. Namaste.